Yo, what's up, all you burner stoners and potheads? This is Weedman 420 with the Weedman 420 Chronicles. How are all you vipers doing out there? Mrs Weedman.
Mr. Weedman.
How the hell are you?
Fantastic.
Hey, all you vipers out there in the world. Hopefully you're smoking some big fat doinks while you're listening to the show. Mrs Weedman and I are about to get normal, and we are smoking some Fir OG, grown by our friend Big Earl, who stopped by in town, and we had a pizza party while Big Earl was here. And we had a great time with, as always, with the doggos and with pizza and just getting stoned and just doing the things that we'd like to do. But this is a new strain that I've never smoked before until he gave it to me, and he created it. So I don't have much information on it, but I will tell you this. These nugs are very sparkly.
They're very pretty.
And the green was so vibrant. Mm-hmm. It looked like it was dyed. That's how pretty these nugs look. And they're like Christmas tree looking with, the colas were just beautiful, everyone. I just wish you could enjoy this smoke like Mrs. Weedman and I have the last couple of days, because it is really nice. It's more of a downer, more of like just a cool body. We had a good we smoked this last night. And you and I basically was on the floor crying, laughing. I don't know what we were talking about.
At me?
No, yeah, I was laughing at you.
Why?
You make me laugh like a clown.
I'm not funny.
You make me laugh like a clown.
You think I'm funny? Funny looking?
But I was definitely on the floor in literally a barrel laugh. I mean, you had me going on something last night.
What was I saying?
I don't even remember. But this strain is what made me laugh. Very hard. It's a very good strain. So Fir OG, Big Earl, we love it. Also great for bedtime too. This was great.
I slept like a baby.
I
don't think I moved last night.
That's good.
And
That's
yeah,
good.
I woke up. I think I was still in the same spot.
You also took a 3-in-1 edible.
I took a 3-in-1 edible.
Yeah,
with CBD, THC, CBN.
Yeah.
I smoked.
You smoked.
And smoked some more.
And we smoked some more.
Maybe a little more.
You were out.
I slept.
You went to sleep before I did last night.
Yeah.
Yeah. You shut everything off, and you were.
Trust me, that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a very good thing.
And I wouldn't be sleeping like a baby without cannabis at all.
You know what day it is today?
What day is it?
It is November 5th.
Oh, I know what it is.
2024.
I've got my voting sticker
and
on.
it is election day,
I voted.
everyone, and we're recording on election night. I am not talking about the politicians that are being voted for on any of the races. That's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about cannabis and the cannabis election that's going on here in this country right now. And I would tell you this, I've been keeping an eye on all of them, and especially Florida, and you did it again, Florida. You missed the mark
by like crumbs.
By 3% of the vote.
But like statewide, we were looking at the county map.
Yep.
And everywhere it was like 44 to 56%.
59%.
Everything was like right on the cusp of a 50-50 split.
Hence why Florida very rarely passes anything, because you have to have 60% of the vote to win, which is total horseshit. It's a 50-50 split.
Yeah.
It should be 50% of the vote that wants it. So once again, Florida, you missed the mark again for
DeSantis, I'm sure, is very happy about that.
Well, of course, but the money that was spent and the ads that were put out in Florida was absolutely ridiculous. Ridiculous how much money was spent. Close to 20
to knock down and not let cannabis happen.
No, one company, cannabis company, spent over $100 million trying to get Amendment 3 to pass, like $110 million. I think the hemp companies that didn't want to get it passed, I think they spent like $20 million.
Wow.
So close to, like, say $130 million that was spent to either get it passed or not passed. And it was, to me, it's a waste of money. Mm-hmm. You could have used that to pay your employees better. You could have used that for doing so much more stuff with, instead of trying to get a vote passed to win voters over, instead of letting just cannabis speak for itself. Mm-hmm. And the same thing with you, DeSantis. You should have kept your fucking mouth shut. Let the people decide and don't sway voters to the cause. And we failed again.
Not even the cause, the agenda.
Both.
Well, the cause is good.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, to the cause.
Right. And he doesn't want people to know that.
Right.
So he led them by his agenda.
Right. But of course, he doesn't understand that hemp and cannabis are one and the same thing.
Right.
So to me, it was just a complete asinine joke, and the state is just totally screwed up.
Crazy.
The money that could have been drawn for all people that need housing, roads, healthcare, better education. I mean, you would have generated $400-500 million a year in tax revenue once it was totally fully going in about 2 years, 3 years with tourism and everything. It would have fixed everything that the hurricane fucked up. All
I don't
those
know about
hurricanes,
everything, but it would have put a big dent in it.
oh, you could have gave a lot of money back to those hurricane victims and fixed the roads and fixed the houses. You could have done a lot in 2 years. And any hurricane that came through, you could have had your own cannabis hurricane relief fund and put
cannabis.
From cannabis. And you really screwed up. You really beat cannabis down, DeSantis, and you made people think that cannabis is still reefer madness. And it's a shame. And Florida, I love you. Hopefully you can get this back on the ballot again. The last time I checked a live report, it was still 5% of the vote that hadn't come in yet. And it was 57 or 57.1 versus 43.2 or some shit last time I checked. And, by the time you all hear this, it'll be over. But also you have North Dakota, South Dakota. You had laws in Texas that were going to be passed for decriminalization. You also had psychedelics in Massachusetts going to be voted on. You had a lot of stuff going on. Oregon had votes going on. There was a lot of stuff for legalization here. And a lot of states that, between South Dakota and North Dakota that had a chance a couple of years ago missed a boat or they got fucked by their own government. But now we'll see what happens again. It was very likely that it might pass in one of those two or both. So we'll see what happens here with the rest of the night as we go along. And then by the time this episode airs, you should have the results in the next couple of days. So hopefully cannabis succeeds in where we want it with these votes. And hopefully maybe the one thing in Florida I will say before I don't talk about it anymore is Broward County was not showing votes put in. And I don't understand why, because that could have been a little
That's like
sway.
Fort Lauderdale, Boca,
Hollywood.
Yeah. That's a lot of dense population.
I keep on going out on this. Oh. I'm talking too much.
And there's the beachside towns have a good mix of older and younger communities.
Right.
So it would be a diverse base of voters. But they called it before. Well, if they call a state for the presidential election for the nominees, why do they have to call it? Why does that have to include bills and all of these other little things?
They didn't call it for the president. They called it just to call it. And they had 95%.
But they called it.
Yeah, they had 95% of the votes and knew those extra 5%, whether they vote no or yes, probably wouldn't sway it to the 60% they needed. It was still 3% away. With only 5% of the votes, they weren't going to get it. They said they weren't going to have enough. So it's just a shame. It's. I hope if it gets back on the ballot again, please do not spend $200 million this time trying to get cannabis passed. I think it's foolish to spend that kind of money that could be used for better things. And so now, the company that spent $100 million on this is going to have to raise their cannabis prices up for med patients because they got to make that money back.
They need to learn some good old school guerrilla marketing.
Guerrilla marketing at its finest. Door-to-door knocking would have won that vote for you.
People on the streets. Talking to other people.
That's it. Smoking with other people, too.
Yep.
What did we do this weekend? We went, we live in Chicago, South Side, a little suburb right outside the South Side of Chicago, let's just say. I love good food. I love fun food too. I love burgers. I love hot dogs. I love Philly cheesesteaks. I love all that fun. I love ramen. Street food, I guess. Would you call it that? Street food?
Yeah.
Kind of. I like all that stuff. I like fine dining too, don't get me wrong, but I don't like getting stuffy. I like the fun stuff. We've talked about Red Hot Ranch before, how good their burgers are here in Chicago. Oh my God. And but I was on social media, and no, I don't have my Instagram back. I was on another social media, and I love it because I research a lot of food, restaurants, and this Monty's came up, and it was a cheesesteak that I haven't had a good. What did I say to you? I came running upstairs. I said, "Call the kids. We're going to this restaurant on Saturday." You're like, "What? What is this?" I'm like, "Monty's. It's cheesesteak. I haven't had a good cheesesteak. I can't remember the last time I had a good cheesesteak. It's been a while.
It's been a long time.
And I've never been to Philly, so I never got a chance to experience a Philly cheesesteak, but I've had good Philly cheesesteaks before. And Monty's is on the north side of Chicago on Tallman. Like, I can't remember the exact address, but we get in there. We smoked weed before we went inside. and we took our kids, and very cute place, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it was so cute. We were expecting more of like just a takeout food, like a hot dog stand you see all over Chicago. We thought we were going to go to a counter, order food, have a bag, hand it to us, and sit in the car, or stand at the bar and eat it.
Right.
But it was an actual, like, very small, super cute little charming neighborhood restaurant with a little patio out front.
Great little beer menu if you like beer. But their full menu was very impressive too. Not only just their cheesesteaks, but they did some a good Italian hoagies. They had some really good appetizers. And so we got, for an appetizer, we got the pretzel nuggets, and I will say their cheese sauce and their mustard were good. And then we got these chicken bites. They were boneless chicken bites, but they were called something, and I can't remember what they were called. They were
boneless wings, and we're like, boneless chicken. However it was stated, it was kind of a redundant description. I was like, okay, I don't think they need. Oh, it was like boneless chicken tenders. And I was like, well, tenders don't have bones. We already know the no bone part. But whatever.
So we got. They had different sauces. We got, of course, in Buffalo. You always got to try the Buffalo the first time somewhere, and their blue cheese and ranch dressing was phenomenal. But those were really good. So then, I don't remember what the kids got, but I know what you and I got. They have what I liked about it. They had 3 different size sandwiches. They had a 5, 8, and a 12-inch. I can't eat a 12-inch sandwich anymore. I'm done if I do. Yeah, and I don't even like 8 inches sandwiches. Unless we split it.
Right.
You know, I can split a sandwich with you like that. But they had a platter that you can pick 3 different sandwiches, and you can get fries or chips, whichever one you want. And we got the classic Philly, but I have to get classic Philly not only with onion, I have to get with mushrooms. It's just a thing for me. So I got the and of course I chose American cheese, white American cheese. That's just classic on a Philly cheese. We'll talk about that at the end. And then we got the Johnny. Was it the Johnny?
Something like that, yeah.
And it had
horseradish sauce.
A horseradish sauce and Swiss cheese. And then the cheesesteak and onion. And the horseradish sauce, I could fucking live in that stuff. It was delicious. I needed more to dip that sandwich in.
The bread was amazing.
Oh, the bread was delicious.
It was definitely a special recipe.
Oh, yeah. 100.
That was not bread I'd had before.
That was just the way cheesesteak bread was supposed to be.
Pillowy, kind of a little chewy.
Yes. Yeah. And then we got the Italian hoagie, which you couldn't eat. I ate half of it.
I was just too full.
Yeah, I ate half of it.
It looked beautiful.
It was fantastic. A really good done Italian hoagie because the bread was all that, and the way they put their onions in there with the mayo. But I think the mayo was some kind of like the horsey sauce. I think it was more of like a mayo sauce instead. It was so goopity goppity. It was delicious.
I didn't even consider it. It was not
I had to do it. I had to do it. Right? I had to eat it. I had to eat the half of it. The 5. I had to eat it. And I will say this: we will be back. It was, if you're in Chicago area or you know of this place or you've heard of it, I highly, highly suggest to go get yourself Monty's.
It was good.
Yeah, it was delicious. We'll be back.
Good
Monty's.
beer list too.
Very good beer list.
Good.
Yeah, you had a stout, which you haven't had a stout in a very long time. I haven't had a stout in
a long time, but they had a local brewery's milk stout. And I was like, yeah.
Yep.
Sounds perfect.
It was tasty once it warmed
meal.
up. Once it got to like 48, 52 degrees, it tasted
cold
great.
Cold and kind of gross outside. It was like good comfort food.
Yeah, it was nice.
It was perfect. Yeah.
And I tell you what, the service was good. The place was clean, which I like.
Super cute.
Yeah, I suggest all you all go out there and try it. And then we went to where?
We drove all the way back to Lincoln Park, so a different Chicago neighborhood, and we went to an institution for music in Chicago, Kingston Mines.
Oh yeah,
super great. It's
great.
like a 2-storefront space. Big. It's a big space, and each side has a stage, and the bands. There's usually a house band and then a visiting band, and they alternate every hour. And so you pay a cover charge and you listen to some really, really great music always.
Yeah.
And it's always jammed. You can get food. Drinks are super cheap.
Yeah, drinks are great price.
Yeah. So like people balk at paying $20 to get in, but you're paying $4 and $5 for a beer.
Yeah.
And
that's
food
cheap.
is super reasonable. You know, it's a basket, fried foods, burgers, things, super cash. But
it's a staple.
It's fun. Yeah. If you've again, if whether you're visiting or you live here, if you haven't been, it's definitely a place to go.
Yeah, I would highly suggest going to Kingston Mines at least once.
Every night there's music.
Yep, and if you come into Chicago and you're from out of town, go if you want to hear some good blues, good just rock and guitars and just drum and just people just having a good time. Get a little baked like we did.
Yeah, of
go
course.
inside and go enjoy some great music. Get your dance on and have some fun. It is an awesome place and an awesome experience. It won't let you down. So.
Yeah.
But that was it. Well, we got coming up. We'll be doing another event, November 17th.
Yep. We'll talk about that closer to the date. Yeah.
Yeah. But we'll be doing another event at Blue Island Beer Company in Blue Island on November. We'll be there from 2 to 7. So on the next episode, we'll tell you about it. So hopefully see you all there. We'll have our nice little setup and I'll be rolling doinks and Mrs. Weedman will be doing your spiel, as you call it.
Yeah.
You want to hear my spiel?
I'll be selling my stuff,
That's
you know?
it, the 8 Decades line. And everybody, don't forget to check out 8decades.com, Mrs. Weedman's baby. All your cannabis accessory needs. We have the best badass smoke tray, smoke set, 16-gauge stainless steel dishwasher safe. Check it out. Beautiful ashtray and tool set to go with that. Awesome clothing. 8 Decades clothing. Weedman 420 Chronicles clothing. We got hoodies. We got scarves. We got beanies. We got shirts. Hemp line. Everything is great. We also got what you need for accessories too. We got grinders, bowls, and everything else out there that you can use for your beautiful setup. And don't forget, mirror and glass jars.
Yes. Storage jars. But also, if you go to a dispensary, if you are from our market, the Chicagoland market, our products are now in B dispensary. So both their Oak Forest and Blue Island locations.
Yeah.
We are in Hatch in Addison. We are in Mission, Norridge. We are in...
And our best friends.
We are in Starbuds.
Starbuds.
Burbank and North Riverside.
Yep.
And so we are around. So look for us. And if we are not in your dispensary and you would like the convenience of seeing our products before you purchase them, then tell your bud tenders that you want 8 Decades products in your dispensary.
Yes, that'd
and
be
we'll
great.
Connect.
Yes.
Yeah. Let us know.
If you get us in somewhere, you might get a little
You
gift.
might get a little present.
A little gift baggie.
Yes.
From Mrs. Weedman herself.
For sure.
So, anything else? Oh, yeah, here, one last thing.
You got something?
Yeah, one last thing. It is election night, everybody. This is our right to vote as a country. If you did vote, great. If you didn't vote, great. It's your right to do what you want. And hopefully after this election, and when you hear this episode in the next couple of days, that we all can live in peace and harmony. No matter who wins, no matter what side wins, it's not about sides, it's about us. Never forget that. So remember that we are all a part of this country as one, and we all should show love, peace, and respect and kindness to one another, and this world will be a better place for you.
We got to get back to a little hippy-dippy kumbaya business around here.
We do need kumbaya right now.
We need some kumbaya.
And then one last thing, I'll be so glad when these fucking commercials and all the talk about the elections and election is over.
Yes.
I cannot wait till it's done. Probably by Thanksgiving it'll be done because everybody will be talking about.
I don't know. This one's not going down easy. No matter what the outcome is.
Peace and harmony, everybody.
Yeah,
just remember
please,
that.
just
Smoke
try
a
to
lot of weed.
Yeah.
The next 6 to 12 weeks.
Maybe through the new year.
Yeah.
Every time you're with family. Because there's always someone that wants to get onto the political.
Oh, yeah. I'll be going down in the basement.
Yeah. I'll be taking walks.
Yes, long walks and smoking lots of weed. But we do love y'all out there. So
We do.
Peace be with you all. So, nope, not ending the show. But you ready to get the show started, Ms. Weedman?
Yeah, we're just getting started.
We're just getting started. Let's do this. Patients report rheumatic disease improvements after swapping certain drugs for cannabis. Nearly 2/3 of patients with rheumatic disease reported swapping NSAIDs, opioids, sleep aids, and muscle relaxants, while medical cannabis, with most reporting higher symptoms improvement with cannabis, according to data. We want to understand why and how people with rheumatic conditions use medical cannabis, especially given the rapidly changing level environment. Kevin F. Bohenke, a PhD of the University of Michigan Medical School, told Helio. This manuscript is also an extension of previous work conducted by my colleagues and I, where we showed that people using cannabidiol, CBD, and medical cannabis in place of other medications for fibromyalgia and chronic pain symptoms management. To examine the prevalence of switching certain drugs for medical cannabis in patients with rheumatic diseases, Bonecki and colleagues analyzed data from the anonymous online survey previously conducted in coalition with the Arthritis Foundation and the Arthritis Society of Canada. The cross-sectional survey asked participants to report their diagnosed rheumatic conditions and use the substances and medications. They also asked whether they had substituted medical cannabis for any other medications, including opioids and disease-modifying anti-rheumatic drugs, as well as subsequent changes in their medication use and symptom severity. The researchers grouped certain survey participants by whether they had substituted medical cannabis or not, and used statistical methods to find between group differences in their self-reported symptom changes, medication usage, cannabis ingestion methods, and other characteristics. The study sampled 763 adults, mean age 59 years, 75.2% of whom said they previously used cannabis recreationally. In total, 62.5% of participants reported substituting medical cannabis for at least one medication, most often NSAIDs, 54%, opioids, 48.6%, but also sleep aids at 29.6% and muscle relaxants at 25.2%. According to research who published their findings in ACR Open Rheumatology, across medication classes, about 80% of participants reported decreasing or stopping medications use after starting medical cannabis. Additionally, substituting medical cannabis was associated with significantly greater improvements compared with non-substitutions in the following symptoms: pain, sleep, joint stiffness, muscle spasms, and inflammation. Mm-hmm. Does it help?
It does help. It helps most when late at night where I'm consuming a lot more. My very low dosing or no dosing during the day and just using CBD isn't doing the trick for the pain. But in the evening, I see great help with it because I'm consuming so much more.
Right.
But I don't feel like I can work at that high dose. That's the problem.
Microdose.
Right, but it's not
Yeah.
it's not as effective.
Right.
Right.
Substitutions was also associated with greater improvement in overall health, assessed using the Promise Global Score, according to researchers. You also don't take opioids and never have. No. You don't take muscle relaxers. You don't take any of those.
I don't even take Tylenol.
No, you don't. So that's pretty good, you know.
Yeah.
Common reasons participants reported for substituting medical cannabis were what they experienced: fewer side effects, 39%, and adverse effects, 12%, as well as better symptom control, 27%. There was also the top 3 reasons for substitutions across individual medication classes. People perceived cannabis to be more helpful and less harmful than these conventional medications. Because cannabis is so widely available in both the United States and Canada, clinicians need to be aware of its effects and how to provide compassionate, thoughtful guidance and using cannabis as a potential treatment option. According to Bonecki, the findings were generally consistent with his team's previous work, but the larger cohort in this study adds value. To see these findings replicated in a large sample of people, the rheumatic conditions was compelling and interesting, given the lack of clinical trial literature on many of the conditions for which people were using medical cannabis, he said. However, Bonecki additionally counseled caution in interpreting these results in the clinical practice. We want to caution that medical cannabis does not work for everyone, he said. In the primary paper from the study, we showed the substantial number of individuals discontinued cannabis use because they did not provide symptom relief. Moving forward, I screwed that word up. Sorry, everybody.
Conceptualization.
Thanks. Cannabis as the potential treatment option. Always having my back, Mrs. Weedman. Love you. A tool in the toolbox is much more helpful than framing it as as poison. So good article about health and wellness when it comes to cannabis, and like they did some numbers and some studies, which I think is great. So
yeah, I think honestly to have enough benefit during the day, I'd have to dose higher than I could comfortably be.
Let me ask you a question, because on the weekends you do smoke during the day.
Yeah.
So let's put it on Saturdays and Sundays. Friday by 5 o'clock you're smoking.
Right.
But let's talk about Saturday. You get up, have your coffee, and you're smoking.
Yeah.
If we have nowhere to go, so Saturdays and Sundays, how does it work for you then during the day?
I'm also, not necessarily sitting more. Because some weekends we're extremely active.
Yeah,
so.
and like some weekends you'll smoke while you're out there cleaning the yard and gardening and stuff.
Yeah.
You'll smoke actually the whole time.
It does help because lately I have been struggling with gardening. The kneeling, it's hard to stand after kneeling. My joints are just like frozen in pain.
Right.
And then my grip has changed and whatever. Yes. So consuming and then going out there, I feel like you take your mind off of it, which then in essence, you're not focusing on the pain and you're just doing. And
Right.
yeah, you can kind of get in your zone. It's helpful.
So it helps.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a very long-winded, yeah.
It helps.
It helps.
That's good. That's good. So here's one for you.
Yeah.
We've heard a lot of stuff about weed being laced in the last
Yeah.
couple of years. We've talked about it on the show. So here's something I think we've talked about, but here's some more information. How to tell if your weed is laced.
Yes. The latest bell anti-cannabis advocates are constantly ringing is about weed laced with fentanyl. Fentanyl, MDMA, and other illicit drugs are said to be in cannabis, but these claims have yet to be proven. The Connecticut Department of Health was one of the first to spark worry over this possibility. FDA-funded research is actually trending in the opposite direction, showing that heroin is most likely to be combined with fentanyl. Cannabis may be laced with various drugs or harmful compounds like mold, but this is less likely when purchasing from a regulated market. Even so, it is wise to know the signs of adulterated pot to avoid unwanted effects. Lead, heavy metals, fungus, and bacteria are possible in organic products like weed. There are also human-caused issues to be aware of. Government agencies and addiction specialists believe that PCP, heroin, embalming fluid, laundry detergent, LSD, methamphetamine, ketamine, and cocaine can be found in cannabis flower, concentrates, or edibles. Certain sensory indicators, like the smell and look of products, could help identify dirty weed, although these signs change a bit depending on the compounds within. Drugs like cocaine are often secretly mixed with other things. This practice is called lacing, or cutting, right? This shady practice can stretch out pure cocaine with cheaper ingredients to increase profitability. Drug dealers may also lace their products with more addictive drugs to bring customers back swiftly and regularly. Think about that. When I read this, I thought, oh my God, could you imagine if in some instances people were starting to become like addicts just after using what they thought was using just weed, but if they had been using a laced weed, all of the theories of cannabis being addictive way back when
Right.
would not necessarily be accurate. It would have been the other drug that was mixed in with it from street dealers.
People were getting
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, they mentioned PCP. Yes, there is marijuana back in the 70s and 80s, maybe even 90s, maybe even still to this day.
Mm-hmm.
But people bought it.
They wanted it that way. It was a mix.
Yes, they dipped it in cigarettes, or they put it in weed, and you smoked it in a pipe, of course,
Right.
or a joint. But that was how people smoked PCP.
But also, an illegal operation isn't working in a laboratory.
Right.
Right. So they might be chopping up cocaine and mixing that up and bagging it. And then they might be moving on to fentanyl. And then they might be moving on to
talked about
heroin.
that
And then they're
before.
moving on to weed.
Yeah.
And the weed just happens to be on the same table that everything else was.
Yep.
And well, there's cross
Yeah,
contamination.
we talked about that a couple
It's
years
just
ago.
careless because they don't care. And again, if they can get you hooked on something, you're going to come back for more.
Yep.
But keep in mind that is traditional market. This should not be happening at all. I would suspect it is not happening at all in the legal dispensary market.
Well, let's put it this way. It should not happen even in the traditional market, legacy market.
Not
It
legacy.
should
but
happen in maybe the black market. It's
Yeah,
happening in the
black
black market.
market, yes.
But I wouldn't say the traditional
No,
market.
no.
Legacy market, you know. So,
I agree with that. So, most illicit drugs have risks, but consuming laced drugs only adds to the potential danger. Fentanyl overdoses from laced stimulants have risen 50-fold since 2010. The drug has 50 to 100 times more potency than medical-grade pharmaceuticals like morphine. Fentanyl test strips and Narcan are readily available at most musical festivals these days. Even a small amount of illicit fentanyl could prove fatal, and people are hoping to intercept laced party drugs before they are ingested. Fentanyl lacing has been seen in cocaine and MDMA, but fentanyl-laced marijuana remains rare. While fentanyl weed is not commonplace, there are some common ways that cannabis is commonly corrupted. Weed is sometimes laced with drugs to intensify and alter the psychoactive effects of cannabinoids. In the late 1990s, people started dipping rolled joints into embalming fluid. The sticks often included PCP2. That's not the same thing. PCP2.
T-O.
T-O-O.
T-O.
These are called dusted weed, fry, superweed, or sherm. Embalming fluid is said to cause hallucinations, while PCP has many other risky effects. Many sherm users do not realize their product contains PCP, which creates dependence, cravings, and compulsive PCP-seeking behaviors.
Superhuman strength. They could put cars over their heads
That's
and walk
crazy.
around with them.
And adding these substances to weed greatly increases the potential of marijuana addiction. Some believe that laundry detergent, is added to cannabis to increase the weight and hide bad smells. Just know it is hazardous to light up and smoke household cleaners.
Yeah, even eating Tide Pods too.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a thing for a minute.
Adding additional mind-altering substances like central nervous system depressants to cannabis might increase lethargy and confusion, while consuming mold, bud rot, and other fungus may have more deadly effects, and it's far more common than drug-laced weed. The effects of laced weed can vary, and there are signs of adulterated pot that can help for you to avoid them. So, mold and bud rot. These natural issues with cannabis flowers are visible on the plant. However, they may hide deep within the bud rather than on the outside. Break apart your bud and look down to the stem to get to the bottom of it. I have held moldy flower, and it does have kind of a mushy, feels like it's a little hollow on the inside. It's different, and you can really see it.
Right.
I mean, there's some flower that is just so terpene laden and drippy and thick and goopy that it does look like, well, you're like, oh, is that fuzz? You'll know. Like, you should just look up images of it, or if one of your friends is growing or you're growing and you get a moldy bud, really look at it so then you're familiar with it.
You'll know it's furry. Very.
Yeah,
It's
different.
It's different.
It's different. Moldy weed may also feel squishier than other buds or have an altered color. If fungal cannabis makes it to the bowl, it tends to crackle from moisture. If this happens, take a closer look at your stash. Cannabis has a distinct aroma with differing notes and base scents. Even with all of that variety, chemicals like meth or fentanyl rarely align. Fentanyl and similar pharmaceuticals or designer chemicals can be smelled on weed. This is different with edibles and concentrates, though. However, when you're purchasing regulated products from licensed dispensaries, you are cutting down on that risk. The effects of laced weed are not worth the risk. These additions to the plant can cause health issues and even prove fatal. And with all of the fear-mongering around fentanyl-laced weed, it's no wonder people want answers. So let's cover some of the more frequently asked questions. How do I find out if my weed is laced? Well, fentanyl and other pharmaceuticals often smell like chemicals, which would be noticeable on organic flower. Mold, bud rot, and other contaminants are visible on the flower. So what would my weed be laced with? Well, it can be laced with PCP, heroin, embalming fluid, laundry detergent, LSD, methamphetamine, ketamine, heavy metals, fungus, or bacteria. Are regulated cannabis products laced with unwanted products? Well, any product can be adulterated. However, there are checks and balances in the regulated industry that a neighborhood drug dealer is not held to. Regulated products are not necessarily 100% safe, but they are less risky compared to those crafted outside of the industry. Lacing, I would say that you wouldn't necessarily need to worry about chemicals. Well, I suppose because they could use pesticides, right?
Yep.
And so I guess I would be more concerned about that type of a chemical than a different type of drug mixed in.
Cheap fertilizer.
Yeah. And I'd be more concerned about molds and the quality and the
I would be concerned about
flower.
pesticides and molds. Especially if you're getting
Yeah.
it from the black market and also.
But even in the legal, I'm talking about legal space.
Right.
Yeah. Lacing cannabis with anything is not recommended. Follow best practices for buying and consuming cannabis to cut down on your risks of ending up with laced weed. An unwanted high or worse is never a good thing. So pass on the potential for laced weed.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Green State always putting out some great articles. Always. Legalizing natural marijuana is the pathway to protect public health, not pretending synthetic THC products are hemp. Op-ed. In a recent op-ed by the Reason Foundation titled "Banning Hemp Products Isn't the Way to Protect Public Health," the author correctly makes the case that bans are often ineffective and can push consumers toward more dangerous, unregulated markets. However, the Reason Foundation overlooks a crucial distinction in the case, that most hemp products referred to in the piece are in fact synthetic THC products, and they are all sold as substitutes for natural but federally illegal marijuana. What, my she? THC?
I'm laughing because I'm sure you hear it when I read. There's certain strains that really change how we speak.
Oh, of
and
course.
You are sounding kind of robotic. But you started off like talking 50,000 miles an hour.
Now I'm all Fir OG, everybody. Thanks, Big Earl. The change in federal law has led to explosion of unregulated intoxicating products in the marketplace that masquerade as hemp products. Synthetically converted THC, such as Delta-8, HHC, THCO, and THCP, etc., are lab-created and do not exist naturally in large enough quantities for mass production. Yet, these molecules are being commercialized in scale in labs and sold outside the purview of regulation as hemp. Referring to synthetic THC as a hemp product misleads consumers. Unlike natural cannabinoids for marijuana, synthetic cannabinoids are manufactured through chemical processes that convert CBD molecules into potpourri of chemicals, including several analogs of THC and host of synthetic byproducts, many of which have never been tested, studied, or consumed until recently. This distinction matters because calling these products hemp products misleads consumers and policymakers into believing they are natural, safe, and similar to marijuana products, not something closer to, say, an unregulated designer drug. Regulations that prioritize public health and safety over pure profit is indeed the answer. But we should be honest about what Delta-8, HHC, THCO, and THCP and others are. Synthetics that should be treated and regulated as such. They shouldn't be marketed as harmless, healthy, or lighter versions of cannabis. For the Reason Foundation to suggest these products should be regulated like marijuana, but less strictly because marijuana laws are too strict, misses the mark because these products are largely unregulated and fails to provide a solution to address the situation. As researchers have repeatedly pointed out, not enough is known about how to make synthetic THC drugs from CBD safely. There is no health and safety standards that exist for these processes. Nonetheless, these products are often equated to marijuana, sometimes even marketed as marijuana light, good as a dispensary, or no medical card needed, while unscrupulously trading off the name of actual marijuana products. Consumers and patients have the right to know what they're putting into their bodies. The ability to sell marijuana is predicted on public trust. Misleading market with framed synthetic THC as a hemp product tricks buyers into thinking they are purchasing something natural and safe, some of whom don't even know these products are intoxicating or that they could fail a drug test from ingesting. With no consistent standards for testing or labeling, consumers are left to guess at what chemicals they are taking. The absence of oversight opens the doors to potential health risks, including exposure to toxic byproducts from the conversion process used to create these synthetics. They're not coming from the hemp plant. Am I right? Mm-hmm. So they shouldn't be legal. Because I thought all CBD and all those cannabinoids have to be coming from the hemp plant. Now they can be processed, through using distillate or CO2 extraction. But I didn't realize that, and I don't know all of the hemp laws. But why are they even legal if they're not coming? I just read that there's not enough coming out of the cannabis plant or the hemp plant to produce enough, so they have to make it synthetically. Synthetics.
But then they don't list the product as being a synthetic
cannabinoid.
By
isomerization. is how they make all these, and it's synthetic products that a lot of it's coming from China, which I'm not saying you don't know what's in it is what I'm saying.
Well, and I just don't love that it went synthetic so quick. I mean,
So quick.
why does it need to be synthetic?
Exactly, because it's cheaper.
Oh,
A lot cheaper.
Right.
So I'm just saying it out loud.
Right.
It's a lot cheaper to do it synthetically than to grow.
But that's not the answer to everything.
Of course not.
But that's how we.
And
are
we're
doing
putting all
things.
this stuff in our body. So in stark contrast to synthetic THC, natural cannabis has been extensively studied over the past 60 years, with the growing body of modern research to support its medicinally and recreational use. The therapeutic potential of natural cannabinoids like CBD and THC have been explored through scientific inquiry, which has led to a federal rescheduling process. States have developed tightly controlled systems. While some states may push forward with attempts to regulate access to synthetic THC and should be used as a substitute for legalizing adult use marijuana, current public policy makes little sense. Naturally, cannabis has been used by humans across multiple continents for thousands and thousands and thousands of years as a medicine and a recreational. Delta-8, HHC, THCO, and THCP, and others have been commercially available drugs available at your local gas station, smoke shop, and on the internet for just a few years. As you just said, Mrs. Weedman. It is often said by those who oppose cannabis legalization that this isn't your father's weed. In the case of the Farm Bill compliant synthetic THC, many of these products couldn't be your father's weed because they aren't actually weed at all. Mm-hmm. There should be no confusion among policymakers. Let's do the obvious thing and legalize natural marijuana, which will better protect the public. It's what consumers actually want in the first place. That was big.
Yeah, like what if it could just be that simple? Flour is completely legal. Any kind of variety of concentration of it, I don't mean like hash because that's pure, but anything that is chemically
synthetic
altered,
right?
That needs regulation.
Needs not to even be made.
Right.
I don't want to put any of that shit in my body.
Some people don't care.
Right. But you can, like I said, it shows very little amounts of THC, Delta-8, HHC, THCO, THCP, minute amounts. But you can basically, it'll take years, but you can basically train plants to grow for those type of cannabinoids. It'll take a very long time.
Yeah. Create a variety.
You have to create a variety, and then it's going to take years. So that's why the synthetic is cheap. Plus, it's also way cheaper too.
Right.
So it's just rough because I think people don't know what they don't know, and using these synthetic cannabinoids, we don't know the studies yet and how they can affect your body. And I'm not,
or if they're even effective.
Right. Yeah, it just might be the placebo effect too, you know. So I've said this before and I'll say it again, don't buy stuff from a gas station. Yeah, please don't. Please.
Yeah. And even some like grocery store products
yes.
and health food store I'd feel a little bit better about. You know, if it's a reputable, long-lasting health food store, your community health food store, and they're very knowledgeable and they know where the source of their product, you should be all right.
And it's just scary, you know, especially like I said,
it's just mass confusion.
Yeah. I don't eat burritos at a gas station. I know some people like burritos from a gas station, but I don't eat it. So why would I buy my fucking CBD or any of those other synthetic cannabinoids from a gas station?
Right.
I go to a fucking Mexican restaurant and get a good burrito. If you want to have the shits for a fucking 2 weeks after eating a fucking burrito from a gas station, be my guest.
Have some of that fake weed while you're at it.
Well, the holiday season's coming up.
Yeah.
But this ain't the season we're going to be talking about right here,
Yeah.
Mrs. Weedman. This is the time of the year that I try to avoid sharing joints with people. As much as I love smoking joints with people, I kind of not like put my... I smoke joints with people during the season, but I don't put my mouth on it because I don't want to get sick. And no offense to anybody out there, but
Mr. Weedman is very intense about his health.
Yes, and I hate getting the flu.
He does not like to get sick
because I don't like to miss work. I don't like to miss my routine.
But you take very good care of your body.
I do.
Yes,
but you still can get the flu no matter how healthy I am, no matter how many fucking concoctions.
Yeah, when you get it, you're dying.
That's why I fucking hate it. I am
You're
a baby.
Big baby.
It's not that I'm a big baby. My body's a big
You're
baby.
like, "Me.
Yeah, I am.
I gotta go to bed."
I do. I won't get out of bed for like 2 days straight, except to pee. And I hate getting the flu. I don't get the flu shot. I don't want to put that stuff in my body. I dread. And as I've gotten older, as healthy as I am, and all the concoctions I make, and all the spells and witches brews that I make to keep me healthy from the flu, I get it mostly every winter, and it's just a misery for me. And when you got COVID and you get the flu, you go out and fucking garden like nothing's happening. I'm fucking in bed like in a baby's
Crying.
fucking like this
For days.
Mommy, I need you, mommy. And I hate it. So I in the wintertime, I like to use a filter, or I put make a cup and smoke it that way, just because I just don't want to get sick. So don't be offended, everybody. I just hate getting the flu.
Well, yeah.
But it is flu season, right? Tell us about how cannabis can help during flu season.
Well, days are getting shorter and the weather a bit colder, which drives people indoors and provides a chance of catching something like the flu. People packed together along with cold, dry air, which can weaken resistance, makes it easier to catch the virus. Can cannabis help this flu season? As interest in natural remedies grows, many are exploring cannabis as a complementary option for managing discomfort during illness. Studies show cannabis contains compounds with anti-inflammatory properties, which some believe could help alleviate flu symptoms. It can also help with managing flu symptoms like pain, nausea, and loss of appetite. A key factor is how to consume and the dosage amount. Since smoking, including vaping, can aggravate the virus and the lungs, the most soothing dose would be via edibles like gummies or tinctures or oils. Cannabinoids like THC and CBD have analgesic properties that may help alleviate body aches and headaches associated with the flu. By binding to pain receptors, cannabis can reduce the perception of pain and provide comfort. The flu triggers inflammation as part of the immune response. CBD in particular is known for its potent anti-inflammatory properties. This may help reduce swelling and discomfort in the respiratory tract. Getting adequate rest is crucial for recovery. Cannabis, especially strains high in THC, can have sedative effects that may help those struggling with flu-related insomnia. And the munchies effect of cannabis could be beneficial for flu patients experiencing reduced appetite. Maintaining proper nutrition is important for the body's healing process. Interestingly, some research indicates that cannabis may offer temporary respiratory relief. It might help with bronchodilation. Infrequent cannabis use has been shown to open airways for 15 to 60 minutes, potentially easing shortness of breath. And cannabis may act as an expectorant, helping to clear phlegm from the lungs and throat. Amen to that.
Yep.
Cannabis may offer a natural approach to managing some flu symptoms, particularly pain, inflammation, and sleep disturbances. However, it's not a replacement for proper medical care, hydration, and rest. As research continues, there will develop a clearer understanding of how cannabis interacts with the immune system during viral infections. It sure doesn't hurt to give it a try, though, the next time you're down for the count. I'll definitely give it a try.
Yeah, that's great. Good stuff. It is. Protect yourself before you wreck yourself. you know,
right?
Be healthy. You'll be happy. Learn about witches brews and weed and brews and all that kind of stuff, and keep healthy. Drink, if you're a grower at home, make a tea with all those leaves. Throw some honey, some lemon.
Some manuka honey.
Yeah, make yourself feel good. And then
hemp hearts.
Yeah. Also look into some
oil.
other cannabinoids too. The article mentioned just CBD and THC, right? CBG helps with inflammation, digestion. You have
CBN
CBC,
for sleep.
CBN for sleep, and it also helps with phlegm. CBC helps with your brain fog. When like COVID happened, you could take some CBC to help with the brain fog and the flu. You get kind of heady, So there's other cannabinoids too to look for to help you out. If you have loss of appetite when you get the flu, try some THCV. Not THCV. Try some THC gummies that are higher in some kind of a strain that you might be able to find strain specific ones that can help with your appetite if you've lost appetite. If you have a stomach flu, don't waste your edibles because you'll be throwing them up. Let that pass and then eat them. So, legalizing natural marijuana is the pathway to protect public. Did I already read that? Yeah, I did. Sorry, everybody. A little high here. Thanks, Big Earl. What percentage of Americans smoke marijuana?
Like, when they say smoke, are they just talking about general consumption or just specifically smoking?
Specifically, just probably marijuana, smoking marijuana. That's what it says. What do you think?
6%.
Okay, let's find out. 15% of Americans report they smoke marijuana, according to a combined Gallup data from 2023 and 2024. While not statistically different from the average of 14% in 2021 and 2022, it is consistent with the upward trend in recent years. The percentage of U.S. adults who report they smoke marijuana has more than doubled since 2013. Doubled. When Gallup first added this question to its annual consumption habits survey, that year 7% said they smoke it. I think probably a lot of people were kind of nervous too, telling people that they smoked even back then. Marijuana use varies significantly by gender, age, and other respondents and characteristics. Men, 17% are more likely than women, 11% to say they smoke marijuana. Adults aged 55 and older, 10% are less likely to report using marijuana than are middle-aged at 18% and young 19% adults. Smoking marijuana is more common among adults without a college degree, 17%, than it is among college graduates, 11%. Democrats, 23%, are more than twice as likely as Republicans at 10% to report using marijuana, with independents rate at 14%, falling between them. Regionally, the highest rates of marijuana users are in the West at 19%, Midwest at 16%, and East at 16%. In the lower South, the deep South, were 11% reporting using it. Those numbers are, I don't know. I'm kind of like, man, those numbers don't seem.
I think there's still a lot of people that don't want to write down that they use it.
Yes, I think the West would seem to me a little bit higher up there.
Yeah.
You know, what percentage of Americans have ever tried marijuana? Gallup asked a separate half sample of respondents in an annual consumption habits survey if they have ever tried marijuana. The combined data for 2023 and 2024 puts this figure at 47%.
Whoa.
Yeah. Gallup's trend on ever having tried marijuana shows that experimentation increased sharply in the first decade after the initial measure of in 1969. Between then and 1977, it jumped 20 percentage points from 4% to 24%. It rose another 9 points by 1985 to 33%. But after that, stalled at under 40% until 2015, when it ticked up to 44%. It has since increased slightly, but remains below 50%. Do Americans support the legalization of marijuana? Not in Florida, they don't.
Sure.
Fuck. Gallup has also recorded a significant increase in the U.S. public support for legalization of marijuana over the past 6 decades, rising from 12% in 1969 to a high of 70% in 2023, before leveling off at 68% this year. Good statistics. It's always good to know, like where we're at, how we're doing, if we're growing.
Can't believe Florida. Like, why? I'm just sitting here repeating those figures in my brain. How is that possible?
Yeah, I know.
It's
very disappointing. It is. It is very disappointing. But let's not dwell. Maybe some
just because that means 40% or 45% of the population wants it.
Right. Yeah.
And they can't get it.
Right.
That's a lot of people.
Well, I mean, you have
45%. How many? A couple million people in Florida?
A couple mil? How about like 20
yeah,
mil?
Exactly. And 45%.
But they're only showing like 11 million voted for that amendment. So they missed the mark somewhere. If there's 20, well, how many people? I mean, how many voters are registered in Florida?
Right.
It could be 12 million. 15 million. I don't know.
But not everybody goes into those topics. They don't.
Right.
They didn't research it, so
or
then
some
they
people
don't want to answer it.
Yeah, some people don't
they
vote
just
either
don't want
way.
to vote on it.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it was 57% was the total vote, but we saw some counties at like 60%. But you needed to be at that 58 to 60% at every county
Across the board.
Across the board, and then we saw some at like 56%, 55%. So it kind of sucked. So here's a big discussion, though: the discussion of when to like how to talk to your family about your cannabis
Yeah.
use. We're coming into the holiday season. The holiday season is here, right? What we did for our Christmas last year with our family is we did a white elephant and we bought 16 bags, and every bag had different cannabis stuff in there, whether it was flour, whether it was accessories that we've collected through a whole entire year. And I think there was nobody shocked, but I think it was a very good surprise. And I think a couple of the nieces came up to me going, "That was really cool." You know, and I'm like, "Oh, thank Mrs. Weedman for it."
Well, and I think that their generation is there was never a stigma to them with
Right.
cannabis. I mean, they were teenagers when it became legal.
Right.
And so there's no stigma for them. And I think that kind of softened the existence of the consumption within our family.
Right.
Because there were older relatives that consumed. You know, nobody did it loudly. It was always quiet. You didn't really know what was happening. But
Right.
there were always family members that were going out and smoking a joint.
Yeah.
Right. But the adults. And then the kids were just open about it
Right.
because they're puffing on their vapes. They're going out and hitting joints. They're coming back in. Now that's kind of like bridged the gap. And now it's just kind of across the board. Everyone's cool with it.
Yep.
So let's get into how would you talk about your cannabis use with your
Yep.
family? According to a recent analysis, the number of Americans who smoke cannabis on a daily or near daily basis now exceeds those who drink alcohol as often. A Gallup study found that 70% of U.S. adults favor cannabis legalization. Yet, the ongoing stigma surrounding cannabis use still makes some consumers feel as though they need to hide their consumption from their friends and family. The question is, why are 30% of U.S. citizens not in favor of legalizing cannabis? And how can you navigate sharing cannabis with your family? And should you tell them? Or is this a private matter that's really none of their business? This article will be offering advice on informing your family and friends who may not be fans of cannabis that you consume the products. So first, let's go into some common misconceptions surrounding cannabis use. Cannabis is just another vice. Well, in recent years, many have swapped alcohol with cannabis, leading to a healthier lifestyle. And since then, a lot of folks say you're just trading one addiction for another. Here's the thing. We all have vices. Yours might be gambling, your friends might be eating or running even. The question isn't what's your vice. The question is what's causing it? What's bothering you? We're all using something to escape, right? Using a vice as an escape can keep you from being your best self and often alters how well you're living your life. But cannabis is something that can be used mindfully in conjunction with therapy, allowing people to learn what they're trying to escape from. Using cannabis strategically allows people to be more creative or relieve pain if something physically hurts. Some use it to enhance their life instead of escaping and hiding from their stressors. Another misconception around cannabis use is that you're automatically a stoner. Some people will wrongfully assume you're unproductive, irresponsible, or unsafe around kids if you consume cannabis to any degree. But this couldn't be further from the truth. The misconception that cannabis users are constantly high and non-functional is outdated propaganda meant to scare people. For many consumers, cannabis is used methodically for things like relaxation, anxiety support, muscle recovery, mental health benefits, and even to create a focused, productive experience. If you want to inform your friends and family of your cannabis use, more power to you. Have an honest and transparent conversation with them. Here are a few tips for getting that conversation started, how to respond to criticism, and how to balance being honest while keeping your well-deserved privacy. First, own your cannabis use. It's important to realize you're not going to convince everybody that cannabis is good. This is when owning your choice comes in. Identify what specifically bothers your loved one and assess whether it's something you can address. Sometimes no amount of education will change a person's mind because it's not about the facts. It's about their personal beliefs, and that's okay. Try gauging if it's worth the effort and understand if it's time to walk away from a conversation if it's a lost cause. Then address their concerns. Be upfront and honest. Explain how you use cannabis responsibly and emphasize that it doesn't interfere with your daily life. If they're worried you won't be able to drive your children to soccer practice, you can explain how and when you consume, and that you obviously don't drive during or after consumption. While you shouldn't have to defend your choices, providing clear information and addressing concerns directly can help ease misunderstandings. Confidence in your choices can often put others at ease, and addressing their concerns calmly and factually can help reduce stigmas. Ultimately, if you believe what you're doing and present it confidently, most people won't engage in a confrontation. And then overcome some more of their objections. Everyone has different reasons for their judgments, so open communication is key. Ask them, I see you're concerned about my cannabis use. Could you tell me specifically what worries you? This can open the door for a productive conversation. Overall, you need to know what's bothering them. Is it the old propaganda? Is it the old DARE program? Do they need to learn more about the plant? And prepare for resistance. You can quietly consume cannabis without drawing attention or start introducing it to your family. But be prepared for some pushback. And when that happens, focus on listening to the other person's concerns instead of bombarding them with why questions or facts. They may have spent years with a certain mindset, and a few pieces of information won't change their opinion overnight. So start by understanding their concerns and over time, address them bit by bit. And balance honesty with privacy. Ask yourself, is it worth disrupting a comfortable or familial dynamic over my cannabis use? What will I gain from it? Will it cause unnecessary tension? For instance, on a recent family vacation, the author said that she brought small edibles, kept them discreet, and used them mindfully without getting high. It helped her stay calm without rocking the boat. In situations like that, she doesn't mind staying quiet to make her family interactions smoother. If they ever asked, she doesn't lie. She would be honest about her using cannabis, but in the end, everybody has to decide what's right for them. It's surprising how many people use cannabis but keep it private for fear of judgment. The stigma is starting to fade, but people are still nervous. So if more of us start talking about it openly, the stigma will continue to diminish. You'd be surprised who uses cannabis. It's not always who you expect. The key is open communication, and talking about it helps to normalize it.
Hell yeah.
That's basically what we're doing here.
Every week. Actually, we're recording 3 times this week.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Got the Grow Hour coming up at Big Earl. And then we're going to be recording with some friends of ours. I'm so excited to have them both on. Midwest Terps will be coming on this Friday, so we'll be checking them out soon too. So super excited this week on our recordings.
And that's part of our legacy.
It's part of our Renegade session.
Renegade sessions.
Yes, the renegades in the industry. Oh, I stole the lighter.
You stole my lighter.
I stole the lighter. Political, state, and business news. No more wake and bakey for New York bans the sale of caffeine-infused cannabis. State regulators have banned the distribution of cannabis pills that are also infused with caffeine, a combo that has been a popular pick-me-up for fitness buffs and office professionals, the Post has learned. Terrible. Terrible. I mean, it's not like you're just going to smoke and drink an espresso before I go to the gym.
Right.
It's a pill. And you have caffeine pills that people can buy at gas stations. This is coming from a legalized dispensary. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes. New York, a lot of stuff going on in New York right now. New Yorkers, legal cannabis ready to hit its stride. New York's legal cannabis market is finally stabilizing after a rocky start. Initial challenges like slow rollout, legal battles, and regulatory hurdles have eased, allowing more licensed businesses to open. With over 100 new licenses approved, the market is set to growing significantly. While efforts continue to shut down illegal operations, the state is now seeing increased retail activity and could help reach its full potential of one of the largest cannabis markets in the U.S. They're saying New York can support up to at least 1,000 more legal pot shops in the state. Can crush. Because they want to crush illicit vendors, like all those bodegas and shit. But here's something crazy. Couple more things about New York. Hundreds of New York social equity licenses set to expire in coming months.
Oof.
Yep, by December 2024. Many licenses have faced challenges in opening businesses, such as raising funds and finding compliant locations. The state is considering potential solutions, but without regulatory changes, over 300 licenses risk losing their permits. The conditional licenses were initially granted extra time due to legal delays, but further extensions are unlikely unless new policies are implemented.
Wow.
Right. New York City.
So those business owners are just going to lose their businesses.
And everything they invested in. It's crazy, right? New York law used to shutter unlicensed weed bodegas is unconstitutional.
Yeah.
A judge rules. A Queens judge ruled that New York City's law used to shut down unlicensed cannabis shops is unconstitutional.
Oh.
The decision issued on October 2024 found out that the law violated business owners' due process right by allowing stores to be padlocked without sufficient legal proceedings. The ruling opens the door for previously closed shops to reopen and possibly sue for damages. Ooh. There's all your cannabis fucking tax income there, New York. Way to fuck that up. This challenges the aggressive enforcement tactics under Mayor Eric Adams' Operations Padlock aimed at curbing illegal cannabis sales.
They're just going to throw a padlock on the door
They
and
did.
shut people down.
They have, and took all
Ridiculous.
they could have went and just confiscated all the illegal drugs and fined them,
Right.
but they didn't.
Well,
They padlocked the door, lost business. It's going to be millions of dollars once these lawsuits start happening. 26 businesses selected to grow and process Kentucky's medical cannabis for 2025. Dispensaries are going to be on a different voting. This was just for cultivation. January 2025, get ready, Kentuckians. It's going to happen. Happen.
wow.
Florida medical marijuana sales plunge, according to the OMMU data. They really thought, I think, this was going to pass. So in Florida, multi-state operators, MSOs, have significantly reduced the production of high CBD, low THC products in the past 5 months, favoring more profitable high THC products in anticipation of adult use legalization.
Wow.
Meh, meh, meh. According to DocMG, Truliev's low THC product sales have dropped by nearly 99%, and other major companies followed suit. While some attribute this decline to technical issues with Florida's cannabis reporting systems, others argues that the shift is driven by MSOs focus on recreational cannabis sales, leaving medical patients struggling to find the therapeutic products they need.
Jeez.
You got stuck in the ass. All you MSOs just took the finger in the pooper because you fucking didn't. You spent money you didn't need to, and you hurt what? The patients that got you to the dance. That have been keeping you alive these last,
Gosh.
and you just but this is every market. You forget about what got you here, and that is the medical cannabis market and the medical patients who I said on the last episode or 2 episodes spend more money per transaction. Yes, when you go recreational, you'll have more volume. Yeah, yada, yada, yada. But medical patients spend more per receipt. And they want quality, fire weed that's going to help them with their medical conditions. You lost it. This is what I'm saying. And why I want to open up a medical dispensary. I just want a medical dispensary, right? How long are we talking about it?
Yep.
Because they need to be the patients of what got us to the dance. The first laws in most states didn't start with recreational, right? You didn't.
Oh, I mean, way back when distribution began in California.
1996.
With Brownie Mary.
Yeah.
That was for the patients.
For the patients. For the peeps.
The programs were always for the patients. It's the way to get the government to understand it.
And then you just leave it behind.
Sad.
Yep. Very. Dramatic drop in marijuana use among U.S. youths over a decade. Youths. Yep. A study of Florida Atlantic University Schmidt College of Medicine examined marijuana use trends among U.S. adolescents from 2011 to 2021. Data from 88,183 students showed a decline in current marijuana use from 23% in 2011 to 15% in 2021. That's actually a big.
That's very strange that the number went down.
Right.
Why? Because
it's
vapes
not cool.
went
It's not cool anymore. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Yeah.
The percentage
your
of
mom and
first
dad
time
smoke it,
Well,
so
here it
it's
is.
like-
The percentage of first time users before age 13 also dropped significantly. I mean,
Wow.
first time I smoked weed, I was 13 and smoked it a bunch. Girls surpassed boys in marijuana use by 2021. And so that's crazy.
I've heard that a lot.
The study highlights the need for targeted interventions, particularly as recreational marijuana legalization may increase access and lower perceived risk among youth. So, bipartisan majorities of Kansasans support marijuana legalization, poll finds as lawmakers delay consideration of medical cannabis reform. Sad. DEA begins selecting witnesses for marijuana rescheduling hearing, inviting industry stakeholders and prohibitionists to testify. The DEA is selecting witnesses for hearing in December 2024 regarding marijuana rescheduling, which may move cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 of the Controlled Substance Act. Both cannabis industry groups like the National Cannabis Industry Association and prohibitionist organizations have been invited to testify. The hearing will gather additional input following a scientific review, with concerns that the timeline might delay the final rulemaking into 2025. The hearing could influence future federal marijuana policy. I think there was only one marijuana company that got invited to this. Only one.
Crazy.
Cannabis regulators concerned about predatory practices in Missouri. Social equity program. Allegations have surfaced that some investors like Michael Hallow have exploited disadvantaged applicants for drafting contracts that allow them to retain full control of the business while leaving the applicants as mere figureheads. Oh, yeah. Destiny Brown, one such applicant, discovered that her contract effectively handed out ownership to Hallow, which led to the revocation of several licenses associated with him. Remember, we talked about this. You and I had this conversation about what's going on in Missouri, and I think I mentioned it on an episode or two. This has raised alarms about the integrity of Missouri's initiative aimed at aiding those affected by past marijuana laws. The situation reflects broader issues within the social equity programs as regulators investigate multiple similar cases across the state, revealing patterns of abuse where qualified applicants are manipulated into giving up control. Terrible. Taking advantage of people. Cannabis earnings season is about to begin. It's that time of the season.
October just happened,
Yeah.
so harvest is ready.
Yeah, the upcoming cannabis earnings season, highlighting the key financial metrics and expectations for major companies, discusses the public cannabis company revenue and income tracker, with monitors revenue among cannabis firms, knowing that the companies must report revenue above certain thresholds. Analysts expect modest revenue increases for some top companies, while others may see declines. I'm not going to mention any of their names, but some companies are anticipating projected report growth, while others are anticipating revenue drops. And because they are all publicly traded companies, you can go up and look at you can go up and look up their financials. So, and see if they're worth investing in or just not worth investing in at all. The cannabis industry has been so volatile since COVID, after COVID.
It's going to be years before it stabilizes.
So, I mean, you know,
because it'll have another huge shift if it goes federal.
Once it goes federally
and it
legal,
can be interstate commerce.
Yes,
that's going to be a whole nother learning process.
You got about if you invested in stocks 5 years ago when they were penny stocks. Some of them, like I know somebody invested in like penny stocks like 15 years ago and just held on to it. And you know, if you invested in penny stocks or dollar or some companies that started off high during COVID when they launched, you know, you spent $20 a share. Now some of them are down to like $2 a share that were 20 at one time. Don't worry. In about 10 years, you'll be very happy. Mm-hmm. You know,
just be patient.
Yeah, just be patient with this.
It's a long-term investment.
Right. Same thing with psychedelics, because there's a lot of psychedelics on the ballot right now too. Massachusetts has theirs, so you're going to see there is already psychedelic companies, psilocybin mushroom companies already on the trade. You know, you could buy them now. Some of them are penny stocks. In about 15, 20 years from now, you might make a little bit of money. You know, so buy now, buy early. You know, and then see what happens. You know, it ain't gonna hurt you if it's under a penny. You know, and you buy 1,000 shares, it ain't gonna cost you more than $1 if you're lucky. You know, so just look at that in that way if you're into stocks, and you know, but those are the kind of stocks that you have to sit for a while on. You ain't gonna see your return on investment for a long time. So California should cap THC levels in marijuana and test government-run cannabis monopoly, state commission report says. Great. Government-owned weed. A California report recommends capping THC levels in cannabis products and establishing a government-run cannabis monopoly to combat rising potency. Key suggestions include limiting THC to 60% for concentrates and 25% for flower, implementing plain packaging, banning flavored products, and imagine fucking eating a flavorless gummy. Gross. And enhancing youth protections. The report aims to reduce cannabis-related health issues and ensure fair regulations while avoiding stigmatization. It also calls for increased funding for public health campaigns about high-potency cannabis risk. Imagine eating a gelatin gummy with no flavor.
my brain can't get away from that thought. It would not be great.
Gray market weed. Illegal grow house operators and their tainted products take refuge in Maine's legal market. Maine's legal cannabis market is being infiltrated by gray market operators, particularly those involved in illegal grow houses. These operations produce tainted products, compromising consumer safety. The state is struggling to regulate and maintain the integrity of its legal market while dealing with fallout from these illicit sale activities. The situation has raised concerns about public health and effectiveness of cannabis regulation in Maine. Judges can restrict legal marijuana use for people on probation, court rules. A recent court ruling in Michigan allows judges to restrict legal marijuana use for individuals on probation. The decision is significant as it arises from conflicting laws between the legalization of recreational marijuana and earlier legalization against its use. While some courts have permitted medical marijuana for prohibitioners, this ruling reinforces that judges have discretion to impose restrictions impacting the rights of medical cannabis users under prohibition. Appeals to this ruling are likely, potentially leading to further legal clarifications. Washington cannabis tracking system delayed until 2031. Audit reveals ongoing issues. Oof, man, that's rough. FDA educates healthcare professionals on marijuana, hemp, and emerging cannabinoid market. Wow, the FDA is getting involved. I saw the chart that was on this when I was reading the chart that they were showing doctors. It's absolutely fucking ridiculous. It's just like, come on now, we could do better. The FDA held a webinar for health professionals focused on cannabis, emphasizing its chemical properties, differences between marijuana and hemp, and the emerging cannabinoid market. This event aims to address the knowledge gap among doctors regarding cannabis medical benefits and risk. Key topics including complexities of hemp-derived products, regulatory challenges, and the FDA's monitoring of adverse effects. As the government considers rescheduling cannabis, there are growing concerns about the safety and regulations of hemp-derived cannabinoids like delta-8 THC. The uneven playing field in Louisiana's THC beverage industry. We've talked about beverages so much on this show. They are a huge segment now, and by 2026 to 2030, it's going to be like a $5 billion industry. It's going to be huge. And it already is. It's growing fast. In certain states, it's just out of control. The challenges facing Louisiana's THC beverage industry, which has grown rapidly since the states inadvertently legalized certain THC products in 2022, lawmakers are now considering legalization that would significantly restrict these products. Driven by health concerns and a perceived lack of regulation, the proposed bill aims to ban all products containing THC. Oof. Jeopardizing a multi-million-dollar industry and impacting the approximately 2,000 businesses that have emerged since the initial legalization. If enacted, this legalization could reverse recent gains for the cannabis market in Louisiana. You think? It's time to level the playing field between marijuana and hemp products with a single cannabis retailer license. The op-ed argues for a unified cannabis retailer license to level the playing field between marijuana and hemp products. Current regulations create barriers for legal marijuana that favor less regulated hemp-derived products, leading to market imbalances. The proposal suggests that states should issue a single license for retailers to sell both types of products, requiring them to comply with safety and age restrictions while lowering tax burdens. This approach aims to enhance consumer safety and accessibility while fostering a competitive market. I'm going to a dispensary to get cannabis sativa, anything from that. I'm not going to a dispensary to buy hemp products. Let's just have a different license for that and make sure the stuff is regulated. Have just, lower the restrictions down on dispensaries and raise the restrictions a little bit up on CBD hemp products being sold at all the other stores,
right.
Head shops and all that shit, and apothecaries and all that. If you're going to sell stuff, have it regulated. Make sure it's clean product, not all the shit we read about a couple hours ago, This is cute. Last week I talked about a Wisconsin pizza maker having infused oil and fucking some people up by mistake. Yeah. This one is actually cute. Charlotte Pizzeria explores untapped market. Pies that get you high. A New York-style pizzeria in Ballots has launched a side business out of its kitchen for a hot in-demand product, a take-and-bake pizza. Why it matters. Yeah. Mike Liberato of Liberato's Pizzerias has done with what the Einsteins, Newtons, and the greatest scientists of all time couldn't. He created an infinite loop. Eat good pizza, get high, want more pizza, get high again. The patent pending product is called Spinello's, which means joint in Italian. Hey. That's Italian slang for joint. It's a 10-inch personal frozen pizza infused with hemp-derived THC. You can find it in your local neighborhood freezer like Common Market or Tip Tops, or ordering online for a pickup for $21.99. Of course, you bake it at what?
420.
There it is. I ain't have to even mention. I knew you'd get it. I had people tell me, infusion aside, this is the best frozen pizza I've ever eaten. Libretto says, see Libretto known pizza. He learned the art of making great za in New York City 2 decades ago. He says this groovy pizza has been an idea for a while, but he got serious over a year ago. He started infusing oils and baking pizzas. Then he'd send them for lab testing. Aha, that's cool. Make adjustments to perfect the potency and sometimes test the pies himself. The fun part, he said. After a months-long process, he had come up with 40-milligram pizza with 5 milligrams per slice.
That's great.
That smart.
Yeah.
What have I always said?
Yeah, low dose.
Yeah. If I want to eat 2 slices, then I'm going to do 10.
Right.
If your pizza's that good, I might eat 4 slices. Then I'm going to be nice and high. You know? The packaging suggests 8 slices, so you know what you're getting into. Smart. And the experience should be relatively consistent every time. Spinellos. Hey, over here. Spinellos. Marijuana capital market. It's a bright 2025 outlook amid regulatory shifts. The cannabis market is poised for a brighter outlook in 2025 due to the expected regulatory shifts, particularly with federal rescheduling of cannabis likely to occur. This change could enable multi-state operators to list on major stock exchanges, significantly boosting investors' confidence. Recent investor sentiment has been impacted by the delays of regulatory actions and the challenges faced by the Canadian cannabis market. Yet optimism remains due to potential state-level reforms and the belief that Tier 1 MSOs are undervalued. And that's the state, business, and political news, everybody. Pot pricing.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's all over the fucking place, right?
Yeah.
This insider weighs in on pot pricing. I thought this was a very interesting article. I thought this was great, especially that we're pretty much, we know the market pretty well and we see a lot of stuff going on here, but this is really good. This lays it out pretty nice for everybody. Tell us about it, Ms. Weedman.
Well, Cannabis Insider weighs in on cannabis pricing. In the cannabis industry, few things are more crucial than pricing. It impacts everything from a dispensary's profitability to the accessibility of medicinal products for patients. With over 25 years of experience in the industry, including my work with premium brands like Papa and Barkley, I've seen firsthand how important it is to get pricing right. Pricing strategies aren't just about maximizing profits. They balance profitability with patient compassion. I'll share my perspective on dispensary pricing, navigating regulations, and some innovative strategies shaping the future of cannabis pricing. Understanding the basics of dispensary pricing. It isn't as simple as applying traditional retail models. In many industries, retailers operate with a standard markup known as keystone pricing, which usually means doubling the wholesale cost of a product. However, in the cannabis industry, many dispensaries work with a 100% markup on wholesale prices. And it's not just that, some even charge slotting fees that brands need to factor into their manufacturer's suggested retail price. Several factors, including production costs, state regulations, and market demand, influence cannabis pricing. Many dispensaries need to make 100% profit off wholesale prices to justify the overhead and support the cost of running a legal cannabis business. But ultimately, the consumer ends up absorbing the expense. Yeah. One thing I've learned in my career is that cannabis brands need to be flexible and anticipate price compression as the industry matures. When I co-founded Papa and Barkley, we faced high production costs initially because the legal cannabis market was still new. But as more infrastructure developed, cannabis became cheaper, and we had to adjust our prices accordingly. In my experience, many dispensaries and brands haven't addressed price compression correctly. There's still this prohibition mindset where scarcity is emphasized, and people think they must charge a premium. But as more cannabis becomes available, the industry needs to shift away from scarcity-driven models and embrace abundance. One of the biggest challenges I see in the cannabis industry is finding a balance between profitability and patient access. With the legal market, While the legal market has provided safer access to cannabis, it has also priced many medical patients out. Cannabis isn't covered by insurance in the United States like it is in countries such as Germany, so patients are often left struggling to afford the products that they need. In states like California and Colorado, the legal environment has pushed prices higher, which has made cannabis less accessible to patients in need. It is disappointing that the industry has primarily focused on profits rather than compassion.
They lost their way, huh?
Yeah. We need ethical pricing models that ensure patients can access cannabis without financial strain. State regulations add another layer of complexity to dispensary pricing. The amount of cannabis tax varies widely from state to state, but it is often so high that it drives up retail prices significantly. These taxes make it harder for legal dispensaries to compete with the unregulated market, and savvy cannabis consumers often find cheaper alternatives outside of dispensaries. The taxing is so demanding in some states that consumers turn away from dispensaries entirely. It's not that they've stopped using cannabis, they've just found other ways to get it. If we want the legal market to thrive, we must reform taxation and regulatory policies to make pricing more realistic and sustainable. When it comes to identifying reasonable pricing, consumers often looked at potency as the primary measure of value. Right now, in the emerging cannabis market, it's difficult for consumers to understand if they're getting a good deal. They tend to equate higher THC potency with better value. But that's not always true. Where those cannabinoids come from should matter more. Distillate-based products with high THC potency might not offer the same value as all-natural products similar or lower THC potency. The quality of cannabis and how it's grown or processed is still largely misunderstood by the consumers, which makes it hard for them to evaluate product value beyond the price per milligram of THC. I think that's a great perspective. That's a great point to make. Because of this focus on THC potency, pricing is often dictated by retailers, still falling into the trap of pricing based solely on milligrams. And this is where the industry needs to evolve. We should start separating brands into good, better, and best categories based on more than just potency. Factors like organic farming, all natural ingredients, the overall experience of the product, and sustainability should play a more significant role in determining price. Unfortunately, this value-driven pricing strategy has not become widespread, but many believe it's essential for the industry's future. To stay competitive, we need to adopt innovative pricing models that reflect the growing availability of cannabis, moving away from the scarcity model of the past. The industry has to start embracing the abundance that legal cannabis offers. I believe the future of cannabis will involve more accessible ways of consuming products, and that will influence how we price them. Instead of selling cannabis gram by gram, we need to start thinking about offering it in larger, more affordable quantities. As cannabis becomes more abundant, I predict pricing models will evolve to reflect that shift. We're not going to be selling cannabis in small quantities forever. I see a future where consumers are using cannabis more freely without the Prohibition-era habits that have made people feel like they need to conserve every gram. Federal legalization will also significantly impact pricing. If cannabis is legalized at the federal level, we could see substantial cost reductions due to lower taxes and fewer compliance fees. This would make cannabis more accessible to everyone, not just those who can afford to pay premium prices. Pricing in the cannabis industry is complex and evolving, from the challenges of adjusting prices to price compression to the regulatory hurdles that drive up costs. Navigating this landscape requires both flexibility and foresight. Experience has taught me that while profitability is essential, we can't forget about the patients who rely on cannabis for their well-being. As the market matures and more infrastructure goes online, we must embrace abundance, innovation, and ethical pricing to ensure long-term success. For those of you working in the cannabis industry, I advise staying informed about pricing trends and be ready to adapt. The industry is changing fast, and leaders who are willing to embrace innovation and think ethically about pricing will be the ones who succeed in the long run.
Haven't we talked about this?
We have.
We just had this conversation last night.
Yep.
Right?
We did.
We did.
Yep.
And this is before you even started working on your show. You usually work on your show Tuesday morning. Mm-hmm. And I work on the show Monday night and send you your stuff.
Articles.
Yes. Yeah. And we were just having this conversation last night. We've had this conversation in the past about pricing because I actually know the industry. Mm-hmm. I run the streets. I'm a street rat, as I'm calling myself. I can get in and out of any situation, and I can fix anything. Not tool-wise.
Yeah, not tool-wise. Definitely not. He could sell you just about anything.
Just about. But I will tell you this. This article is pretty much spot on. And I came from the beer industry, worked the beer industry for a very long time. And when I was told, or a buyer or somebody upper management that I was meeting with for a store would tell me that there's slotting fees at this store, I would actually just laugh and say this meeting's done. Somebody I would not want to do business with. Mm-hmm. If you're charging cannabis companies slotting fees to sell their product in your dispensary, I have a lot of words I would want to call you right now, and I'm not going to do it. But that's just such a fucking cheap ass business model. Mm-hmm. A business model that was a high level corporate asshole kind of put that into place in stores, and kind of like, you know,
grocery.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And a lot of these people have come over from that area, or have come over from, you know, bulk buying stores. And I tell you what, you screwed up the cannabis industry. You are all the problem. And just from not only just slotting fees, everything else that you've done in this industry is nothing but a screw up and does not add value to any brand and also to your store. And I will say that to your face. I will not do business with anybody that offers slotting fees. And I've had people ask me, and I've told them, no, nice to meet you. See ya. Call me when you want good product in your store. Because I will tell you this, if you do that to companies, you will not be around in the long term. That's a quick money grab. You are a promoter.
Just gouging people.
Yes. And it only affects the consumer at the end. I would like to thank this writer. I'm going to give him a shout out. Guy Rocourt, 20 years experience in the cannabis legalization advocate and high quality, developing solventless wellness products. Great article. Mm-hmm. Everybody needs to listen to this episode just to hear that, you know. But good stuff there, Mrs. Weedman.
Yeah. I just turned around and Yuki's laying on her back with her legs up in the air.
You know what that means? She wants you to rub her belly.
Yeah.
She's like, you're not paying attention to me. Get over here. International news. The UK recommends a 0.3% THC limit for hemp. The UK's Advisory Council on the Misuse of Drugs has recommended the THC limit be 0.3% for hemp products, aligning with the European standards, and is signaling a significant step forward for the UK hemp industry. Good for you. Canada's cannabis market goes cold. Pot prices hit bottom. Why top producers are losing ground. Canada's cannabis market has experienced a downturn, with prices hitting rock bottom. Reports indicate that the adult use market has been stagnant, with year-over-year growth decelerating significantly. Only 3% quarter-on-quarter increases in sales were noted. Key licensed products like Cannabis Group and Aurora Cannabis have struggled with substantial losses, prompting calls for structural changes to revitalize the industry. Despite a slight stabilization in prices, competition remains fierce, with some companies managing to increase their market share by diversifying into products like pre-rolls and vapes, which are currently gaining consumer interest. Like we said, here, $4 billion worth of pre-rolls have been sold in the last couple of years. It's fucking crazy. Crazy. Canadian police seized 120,000 plus cannabis and psilocybin products resembling name product brands. Crazy. Drivers to escape punishment over medical cannabis under interim Victorian proposal. In Victoria, Australia, a proposal is in place to allow medical cannabis patients to avoid automatic driver's license cancellations due to THC in their system. Pending further research, the Victorian government is set to initiate a closed-track trial in 2024 to assess driving safety among medical cannabis users. Current laws penalize any detected THC despite the potential for safe driving after consumption. Advocacy groups are pushing for the trial's swift execution, emphasizing the needs for a clinical support tool for prescribing doctors to guide patient driving safety. ICBC returns to Berlin in April of 2025. The International Cannabis Business Conference will return to Berlin on April 29th through the 30th, 2025, making its flagship event in Europe's cannabis industry. This comes as Germany implements significant cannabis reforms, allowing adult use cultivated and consumed cannabis. The conference aims to connect industry leaders, investors, and policymakers amid Germany's expanding legal cannabis market, which is projected to grow significantly in the coming years. Experts weigh in on the power of German cannabis market, though. Germany's cannabis market is poised for significant growth following the Cannabis Act, GAN-G, enacted on April 1st of 2024, which reclassified cannabis as a non-narcotic. This reform eases prescription processes, enabling potentially millions of patients to access medical cannabis. The integration of telemedicine further streamlines the patient's experience, allowing the consultations and delivers from home. Despite the legalization of personal possession, the home cultivation concerns remain about the illicit market resilience. And that is international news, everybody, as Mrs. Weedman passes me over that joint. Because did you know that cannabis is part of what, Mrs. Weedman?
It's part of Diwali.
Diwali, which was on Halloween, right? Which was on the 31st, I think, was the start of Diwali.
I don't know. I don't know the date. I'm sorry.
It was on my calendar, and that's how I know what it is. And I wanted to learn more, and that's when I found this article about it.
Sorry, a little off on my joint lighting.
That's all right. It's okay. Break. Take a break. Smoke break, everybody. We need a smoke break because we managed to get higher.
Okay. Well,
pass it back to you real quick.
Oh, okay.
Pass
I'm
the
getting
joint. What's your ending? Puff, puff, pass.
Not yet. We're not ending. We got
no,
more.
we're not ending yet. One more hit. Back to you.
We're really taking a break.
Back to Mrs. Weedman.
Back.
There we go.
Then I'm going to be coughing.
You're good. Take it slow. And then you can tell us about Diwali. I'm good.
All right. Diwali. Did you know that cannabis is part of it? Well, Diwali is the Festival of Lights, and it is one of the most popular festivals for Indians. But did you know that cannabis is part of it? From Mumbai to Texas, Diwali is a major Indian festival celebrated around the world. Diwali, also known as Deepavali, is a major festival celebrated primarily in India and by Hindu communities worldwide. It is often referred to as the Festival of Lights and symbolizes the triumph of light over darkness and good over evil. The festival has a complex relationship with cannabis that spans ancient traditions and modern concerns. Cannabis is part of the 5 days of celebration, light, reflections, and feasting. Homes and businesses put out rows of diyas to invite prosperity and dispel darkness. It is customary to do a good clean of the house and light it all up to bring light into the home and life. Cannabis has deep roots in Hindu mythology and religious practices. The ancient Vedic text mentions cannabis, sometimes referring to it as Vijaya, or source of happiness, or Ananda, light provoker. Lord Shiva, one of the principal deities of Hinduism, is closely associated with cannabis. Shiva tells his consort, Parvati, about the benefits, elevating its status to a sacred plant. The use of cannabis in India dates back to ancient times, with evidence suggesting its presence as early as 1000 BC. The Atharva Veda, an ancient sacred text, refers to cannabis as liberator from sin and heavenly guide. This long-standing cultural acceptance has led to cannabis being integrated into various religious and social practices. Cannabis is an element of Diwali celebrations for all participants. Yogis or sadhus, along with other Hindu mystics, have been known to smoke a mixture of cannabis sativa and tobacco in order to enhance meditation. In Hinduism, it's believed drinking bhang during religious rites can cleanse sins, unite one with Shiva, and avoid hell in the future. Priests, mystics, and everyday Indians have been known to consume. Bhang is an Indian edible preparation made from the leaves of the cannabis plant. Bhang is part of the ancient Hindu tradition and custom in the Indian subcontinent. In some parts of rural India, people attribute various medicinal properties to the cannabis plant. If taken in proper quantity, Bang is believed to cure fever, dysentery, and sunstroke, to clear phlegm, aid in digestion, increase appetite, cure speech imperfections, and give alertness to the body. Because the country's legal definition of cannabis does not include the leaves of the cannabis plant, it preserves the legality of Bang, and many important festivals have traditionally seen people consume Bang. And that's it.
That's it?
Pretty cool.
I like Bang.
I want to try some Bang.
When I used to sell beer, I used to go to this one store. Mike was his name. He was from India, and when I would tell him about my cannabis consumption and stuff like that, he told me about Bang and how he goes, listen, if you ever go to India and you go to a Bang shop, do not take too much.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because the way he told me how they make it is they took milk. I think it was goat's milk or cow's milk, and they took hashish or cannabis, and they put it in a copper pot.
Ooh.
Like like one of those.
And they warm it.
Kind of like how they make caramel in a big copper
kettle.
Yes. And they stir it, and all you need is a teaspoon of it, and you are whacked.
Whoa.
Out of your mind. It gets you.
So it's like a milk tea.
Basically, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he was telling me about it. He goes, you ever go there and try?
I bet they put a lot of sugar in it, too. I bet it's sweet.
It's probably delicious. You're going to want to drink the whole thing. Like a Tom and Jerry where Tom would drink milk and
I'll have more.
And lick the cap and stuff and put it back on like it was filled or something. Kind of like that. I'd be licking the kettle. And then because the copper, I guess, makes it even stronger.
Whoa. It
infuses it with the milk, he was telling me, that makes it even stronger. The copper the copper heating does something to the cannabis, and it makes the milk that's why they only
when you bake.
That's
it probably, and then the milk
adheres
fat
to it.
Adheres, and it's probably like instant.
Yeah,
when you
he said he goes, all you need is a teaspoon of it,
good.
And he goes, if you take too much, you're going to be just whacked out of your mind. I was like, I want to try it.
Yeah,
he started laughing. So one day we'll get to go to India and try some Bang, or maybe we'll find somebody who knows how to make it here.
Yeah,
it
would be cool to go to India and try it.
It would be great.
Yeah.
Reba McEntire accidentally took a 25 milligram gummy with her late mom. There was weeds and flowers growing out of my head. What do you want, mushrooms?
Yeah, right.
McEntire told a hilarious story about taking care of her late mother, Jacqueline, before she died of bladder cancer in 2020. Reba McEntire learned the hard way to be careful with infused gummies. During an appearance on the October 28th episode of The Tonight Show, the Queen of Country hilariously recalled accidentally overindulging in the 25 milligram gummy while taking care of her late mom before she died in March of 2020. The moment occurred in January of 2020 when the fancy singer went to spend time with Jacqueline in Oklahoma and give her siblings, Alice, Paige, and Susie, a break from taking care of her mom. Alice told me, she said, now, if Mama starts hurting tonight, when you all go to sleep, give her one of these gummies. I said, okay, all right. And I said, the whole thing? She said, yeah, the whole thing. Mom could take a 25 milligram gummy. Good for her. Well, I wasn't really comfortable with that, added the happy place star. So when we started going to bed, I said, Mama, let's get ahead of this pain. I'm going to give you half of this, she said. Well, what do I do with it? I said, put it between your cheek and your gum, like dip of skull or something, So she did, and boy, she just went to sleep. Reba added, I thought, well, shoot, Mama's taking it. I need to see what she's experiencing. Previously, the Grammy winner had limited experience with gummies, maybe one time, like 2 milligrams or something like that. She said, recalling that she took the other one and laid down and went to sleep. Later in the night, Reba felt the bed move and looked over to see her mom needed to use the bathroom. I threw back the covers, and that was as far as I got. And I thought, oh my gosh, I got to help her. I'm going to look like a wimp if I don't, she explained. So I thought I'm either going to crawl over to the bed or I'm going to walk around. She chose to walk around, gave herself some encouragement, slowly moved over to her mom, and finally made it. But that wasn't the most difficult part.
Oh my gosh.
I said, are you okay? She said, yeah, I'm fine. And then she reached over and said, can you get me some more ice water? And I said, ice water? Okay, Reba, recalled Reba. So I held it and I looked at the door, knowing that it was a long way. I got to the hall and then the kitchen. At that point, the Tremors star felt herself mentally fast forward, to a dark place. And she thought about the headlines that could follow a potential incident. Reba McEntire found dead in her mother's kitchen, ice all around her, and a bag of gummies on the floor. I thought, ain't no way I'm going that way. So I just turned back to Mom, and I said, here you go. And she took a sip and said, ugh, where's the ice? And I turned to her and I said, we're out. She said, we're out of ice? I said, yeah. She told Fallon, recognizing her own horrible behavior.
She's too hard on herself.
That's so funny. After getting her mom back in bed, Reba said, I crawled over and I laid down, and I swear there were weeds and flowers growing out of my head. So the next day, I asked everybody, how many milligrams were in those things? She detailed, adding that she learned each full gummy contained 50 milligrams.
Oh, shit.
Presumably of THC, though she didn't specific. I took 25 milligrams, gave my mom 25 milligrams. I still took care of Mama, said Reba. That's a great story.
Oh, my God.
Oh, Reba McEntire.
25 or 50 is like...
And not knowing it.
And not knowing.
And
yeah,
two,
you would think
you've only experienced
plants were growing out of your
gummy
head.
one other time.
Yeah.
It was like 2.5 milligrams.
Right.
And you eat a 25 milligram gummy and you were whacked. But she didn't die.
Right.
And she still got her mom water. No ice. Oh, what a great show, Mrs Weedman. You got anything else to say?
Well, let's go watch the rest of the elections.
Oof. I think I'm going to go to bed.
Yeah.
Wait till tomorrow.
Promote peace, people. That's
Please.
all. Please promote peace.
Please. Pick people up, not bring people down.
Yeah.
Right?
Be good to your neighbor.
Yes.
Be good to yourself.
Yes.
We can get through this.
Yes,
whatever
we can.
the outcome is, we can get through
Except
it.
for Florida. They can't.
Yeah, they can't because they're not going to have weed.
Nope.
They're not going to have fucking weed
Just
to
medical.
smoke. Jeez.
For all you traditional market folk down there, you're sure smiling right now. Your business is about to go up.
Everyone's going to have sudden medical ailments.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll go from, what, 500,000, 600? Oh, I think they're at 1 million maybe now.
Medical cards?
750,000 maybe now, probably. But that went down because everyone was getting ready for rec.
Yeah.
Go get your med card, everybody.
Yep.
Go see a good doctor. I got a pain in my ass, doc. Here you go, med card. Bam!
Thank you.
Oh, shit. Ms. Weedman, it was a great show.
Mr. Weedman.
Everybody out there in the world, love one another.
Yeah.
Could be a little rough one here, but we love you. We love you out there. Peace be with you all. Be kind to one another. As Paulie always says, smoke smart. Puff, puff, and away.
Puff, puff, pass.
Check out our cannabis lifestyle brand online at 8decades.com. Our custom smokes and accessories are perfect for your coffee table, bedroom nightstand, or kitchen counter. They're designed for you to show them off. The Canna community is also loving our hemp and cotton blend t-shirts, sweatshirts, scarves, and hats, finished off with our 8 Decades logo. We've got some awesome long-lasting goods that will be your favorite for years to come. 8 Decades, because a 9th decade of cannabis prohibition isn't acceptable.